Hello and welcome to Book Nook. My name is Bethany Kinder and I'm the Communications and Development Director for Read Aloud West Virginia. Joining me today is Catherine Eckley, who is the Director of the Annual Fund at the University of Charleston. Welcome, Catherine.
Thank you.
So, Catherine, tell us a little bit about what you do at UC.
I work in the Office of Advancement and Alumni Relations, so we are kind of the liaison for the university with any of our alums or donors or people that we consider friends, that have a relationship with the university, and I'm personally responsible for helping to raise money for the university for the annual fund, which is basically helps us to be able to take care of all of our expenses. It kind of bridges the gap between what tuition covers and what everything costs. So it can go to anything from faculty salary to technological upgrades, anything that we need help covering, the annual fund helps to do that.
And also, Catherine is a member of our Read Aloud West Virginia Board. So tell us a little bit about how you got involved with Read Aloud and what your job duties are as a board member.
I came upon Read Aloud. It was kind of interesting. I had a connection with a current board member, she's now a past board member, and she referred me to our executive director, Mary Kay Bond, and I met with Mary Kay, and we actually found out that Mary Kay's daughter was in college at the same college that I went to in Memphis, Tennessee, and so and I had also done something similar to Read Aloud while I was there in Memphis. And so I had some experience reading aloud to young kids, and so it was kind of a natural fit, and so I started then. It was, I guess, almost 9 years now. And so the board is a really active board, and they, Mary Kay and the staff at Read Aloud really help to make us a part of the work that the organization does. A number of the board members are volunteer readers, and you've got people from different parts, a few different parts of the state, and with different backgrounds. Some are parents, some are teachers themselves or have been teachers, some are professionals. And so we just kind of help support the staff and provide direction for the organization.
Well, we definitely appreciate the work that you do on our board. Tell us a little bit about how reading has been important to you in your life and in your work.
It's been very important. I was always an avid reader as a child, and I've tried to continue that into my adulthood. I have two small kids of my own. I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old who's currently in kindergarten and is learning to read. And so I've been able to see firsthand, beyond personal experience that we all have as children, but seeing my son learn to read has been an interesting experience, and how much he enjoys learning to read and then being able to read himself, how much pride he has in that accomplishment has been really exciting. And so I also think that being able to read is, it's a tool that many of us take for granted, and those that don't have the reading skills that they need at the different grade levels, and then as they go out into the workplace, that it really is a detriment to those who are not, capable to the extent that they need to be in order to really function in the world. And it really moves people behind, both adults, but also kids while they're in school and stuff. And so it's really a fundamental piece of their entire educational process. So I think that especially in West Virginia, and our organization is really in tune with the needs of the state, and we have a lot of information from different studies, and then anecdotally from teachers in the classroom, our readers in the classroom, parents from across the state, knowing how much of a need there is to increase the interest in reading, so that our students, when they've got that interest, they can then be more interested in practicing those skills and developing their skills so that they can be better readers.
Absolutely. Well, Catherine is going to read several books for us today, so tell me a little bit about the first book that you're going to read to us.
I think the first one is Should I Share My Ice Cream?, which is one of my favorite books to read aloud to my kids. It's a Mo Willems book that, and we read many of those in our house. I think most of His books are really great read aloud books, and so it's just one of my favorites to read.
Wonderful. We are so excited for Catherine to be here. Thank you so much again for joining us. And stay tuned and we'll hear Catherine read the books that she brought for us today.
Okay, here we have Should I Share My Ice Cream? This is by Mo Willems. And it's an Elephant and Piggy book, if you're familiar with Elephant and Piggy, from Hyperion Books for Children. So, ice cream, get your cold ice cream for a hot day. Oh boy, ice cream. One ice cream, please. Here you go. Oh boy, I love ice cream. Wait, Piggy loves ice cream too. Piggy is my best friend. Should I share my ice cream with her? Should I share my awesome, yummy, sweet, super great, tasty, nice, cool ice cream? Maybe Piggy does not like this flavor. Sharing a flavor Piggy does not like would be wrong. I will eat the ice cream. Wait, Piggy will like this flavor. It is very yummy. I will share my ice cream. It will not be easy. Hey, Piggy is not here. She does not know I have ice cream. I will eat the ice cream. Where is Piggy? What if she is sad somewhere? I must find her. When I do, I will say, would you like some of my ice cream? Then she will say, thank you, that would cheer me up. Then I will give her my ice cream to share. Then my best friend will be happy. I will do it. I will share my ice cream. No! Now Piggy cannot have any of my ice cream. Now I cannot have any of my ice cream. I blew it. You look sad. Would you like some of my ice cream? Thank you. That would cheer me up. Yum. That was not my plan. Oh well, this works too. Okay. So our next book is The Napping House by Audrey Wood and Dawn Wood. This is a book I remember from when I was a little kid. Okay. There is a house, a napping house, where everyone is sleeping. And in that house, there is a bed, a cozy bed in a napping house, where everyone is sleeping. And on that bed, there is a granny, a snoring granny, on a cozy bed in a napping house, where everyone is sleeping. And on that granny, there is a child, a dreaming child on a snoring granny on a cozy bed in a napping house where everyone is sleeping. And on that child, there is a dog, a dozing dog on a dreaming child on a snoring granny on a cozy bed in a napping house where everyone is sleeping. And on that dog, there is a cat, a snoozing cat on a dozing dog on a dreaming child on a snoring granny on a cozy bed in a napping house where everyone is sleeping. And on that cat, there is a mouse, a slumbering mouse on a snoozing cat on a dozing dog on a dreaming child on a snoring granny on a cozy bed in a napping house where everyone is sleeping. And on that mouse, there is a flea. Can it be a wakeful flea? On a slumbering mouse, on a snoozing cat, on a dozing dog, on a dreaming child, on a snoring granny, on a cozy bed, in a napping house where everyone is sleeping. A wakeful flea who bites the mouse, who scares the cat, who claws the dog, Who thumps the child? Who bumps the granny? Who breaks the bed? In the napping house where no one now is sleeping. Okay, the next book that we have is My Dad is Big and Strong, but A Bedtime Story by Coralie Saudo. This is from Enchanted Lion Books in New York. My dad is big and strong, but every night it's the same old story. And this is how it begins. I don't want to go to bed. At first, I try to be nice. Dad, I say, it's already quite late. You need to go to sleep now in order to be in good shape for tomorrow. But often it's right at that moment that things get complicated. No, 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 I won't go to sleep, yells Dad as he runs around the house. So I try a little firmness. All right, Dad, but I'm not going to run after you. It's not time for games. Come sit here with me and I'll read you a story. The story trick works every time. Dad comes right over and sits on my lap. He's a bit heavy, but I'm big and strong too. The problem comes when I finish the story and say, off to bed with you. Then Daddy holds me tight and begs with all his might for one more story, please, just one more. And when he looks at me with those pleading puppy dog eyes, I give in every time and read him another story. When that one is done, Daddy always asks me for just one more. But enough is enough. Dad, I say, we said one story and we've already read two. That's enough for tonight. Now off to bed. I'm going to tuck you in. As Daddy slides under the covers, he looks as though he's about to cry. And then I tell myself, hang on, we're almost there, because a dad who doesn't want to go to sleep is exhausting. I would love to climb into my own bed and go to sleep, but if I head to my bedroom now, Daddy will come after me and sweetly ask, son, can I sleep in here with you? And then putting him to bed again will be mission impossible. So he needs to fall asleep in his own room. Good night, dear Dad. Give me a big kiss. Sweet dreams. Sleep tight. Good night, says Dad in a small, faraway voice. But as soon as I stand on tiptoes to turn off the light, I hear, no, don't do that. Leave the light on. My dad is big and strong, but he's afraid of the dark. And so I leave on the lamp outside his room until he falls asleep. The end. Okay. Now the next one we have is from this collection, Horton and the Kwuggerbug and More Lost Stories by Dr. Seuss. And the story that I plan to read from this is called, let's see if we can find it, Marco Comes Late. Let's see. Here we go. There's Marco. Young man, said Miss Block, it's 11 o'clock. This school begins promptly at 8:45. Why, this is a terrible time to arrive. What's wrong with you, boy? Is your head made of wood? Why didn't you come just as fast as you could? What is your excuse? It had better be good. Marco looked at the clock. Then he looked at Miss Block. Excuse, Marco stuttered. Well, you see, it's like this. Something happened to me. This morning, Miss Block, when I left home for school, I hurried off early according to rule. I said when I started at 8:15, I must not, I will not, I shall not be late. I'll be the first pupil to be in my seat. Then bang! Something happened on Mulberry Street. I heard a strange beep, and I took a quick look, and you know what I saw with the look that I took? A bird laid an egg on my arithmetic book. I couldn't believe it, Miss Block, but it's true. I stopped, and I didn't quite know what to do. I didn't dare run, and I didn't dare walk. I didn't dare yell, and I didn't dare talk. I didn't dare sneeze, and I didn't dare cough, because if I did, I would knock the egg off. So I stood there, stock still, and it worried me pink. Then my feet got quite tired, and I sat down to think. Then while I lay wondering when all this would stop, the egg of my book burst apart with a pop. And out of the pieces of red and white shell jumped a strange, brand new bird, and he said with a yell, "I thank you, young fellow, you've been simply great, but now that I'm hatched, you no longer need wait. I'm sorry, I'll keep you till 11 o'clock. It's really my fault, you tell that to Miss Block. I wish you good luck, and I bid you good day." That's what the bird said. Then he fluttered away. And then I got here just as fast as I could. And that's my excuse, and I think it's quite good. Miss Block didn't speak for a moment or two. Her eyes looked at Marco and looked him clean through. Then she smiled. "That's a very good tale if it's true. Did all of those things really happen to you?" Well, answered Marco with sort of a squirm. "Not quite all, I guess, but I did see a worm." And there's one more in here that we can read. This is Horton and the Kwuggerbug. Let's get to the right page. It happened last May on a very nice day while the elephant Horton was walking, they say, just minding his business, just going his way, when a Kwuggerbug dropped from a tree with a plunk and landed on Horton the elephant's trunk. The Kwuggerbug leaned toward the elephant's ear. "Perhaps you are wondering," he said, "why I'm here." "Well, I've got a secret," he whispered. "I know of a bezelnut tree where some bezelnuts grow." "Bezelnuts?" Horton looked up with wide eyes. "Bezelnuts?" This was a happy surprise. For all of the nuts in the jungle to eat, the nut of the bezel by far was most sweet. "But why," Horton asked, "do you tell this to me?" "Well, you see," the bug answered, "my bezelnut tree is rather far off, and I'm not very strong. I could get there much quicker if you came along. So I'll make you a deal that I think is quite fair. You furnish the legs, and you carry me there. I'll furnish the brains, show you the way to the tree. Then half of the nuts are for you, half for me." "A deal," Horton said with a smile on his face. "Hold tight, and we're off to your bezelnut place. Just steer me and show me the best road to take." "No road," laughed the Kwuggerbug. "We'll take the lake." And he steered the big elephant down to the shore of a lake that was 30 miles long, maybe more. "Oh," shivered Horton. "Now wait just a minute. I can't swim that lake. It has crocodiles in it. Just look at their terrible teeth, how they flash. They'll chew me right up into elephant hash. I think, Mr. Bug, that there surely must be a much safer way to your bezelnut tree." Now, said the Kwuggerbug, "don't start to squeal. You promised you'd go, and a deal is a deal." Horton thought. What he says is quite true. A deal is a deal. I must see the deal through. So bravely the elephant dived in that pond, and he swam for the shore far beyond, while crocodiles snapped and attempted to eat his tail and his ears and the soles of his feet. They nipped at his knees, and they nabbed at his chin, and he thought, as he fought, that he never would win. But he swam, and he swum, and he held his trunk high, with the Kwuggerbug on it, quite safe and dry. A terrible fellow. That Kwuggerbug guy just sat there and bossed him. "You hustle now, hustle! I furnish the brains and you furnish the muscle." So from 10 in the morning till 2:15, poor Horton fought on till he finally got through to the side of the lake where the bezelnuts grew. He crawled from the water, tired, battered, and wet. "Now where," Horton asked, "are those nuts that I get?" "Oh," laughed the Kwuggerbug, "you're not there yet." "Climb that," said the bug, pointing up in the sky at a terrible mountain 9,000 feet high. "Climb that?" Horton gulped. Not the way that I feel. Tut tut, said the bug. Now, a deal is a deal. And don't start to argue, no ifs and no buts. You'll furnish the ride, and I'll furnish the nuts. The climb, sighed poor Horton, will kill me, no doubt. But a deal is a deal, and I cannot back out. He drew a deep breath, and he threw back his shoulders and dragged his tired legs over rocks and big boulders. He stumbled and staggered uphill over stones that tattered his toenails and bruised all his bones, while the Kwuggerbug perched on his trunk all the time and kept yelling, "Climb, you dumb elephant, climb!" He climbed, he grew dizzy, his ankles grew numb, but he climbed and he climbed and he clumb and he clumb. His hearing grew faint and his eyesight grew dim, but he clumb and he clumb and he clim and he clim from 2:15 until 4:45, till finally old Horton, more dead than alive, had carried that bug to the very tip-top, and then, only then, did the elephant stop. And he gasped to the bug as he sank to his knees. "Now where are my bezel nuts, sir, if you please?" "Right there," said the bug. Horton looked. It was true. 'Twas the bezel nut tree where the bezel nuts grew. "But, bug," Horton moaned, "we're here, and they're there, way out on that peak, and between us is air. Now, how can I get through that space in between? I can't walk on air, if you see what I mean." "A deal is a deal," snapped the bug. "I'm the boss. You stretch out your trunk, and you put me across." "Stretch, Horton, stretch," yelled the bug. So he stretched it 2 feet, but it still wouldn't touch. "Streech, Horton, streech," yelled the bug. So he streeched. It hurt him real badly, but finally it reached. "At last," sang the Kwuggerbug, chuckling with glee, and he slid down the trunk to his bezel nut tree. And he picked all those nuts, and he stacked a big mound of luscious, sweet bezel nuts high on the ground. "But hey," called the elephant, "you over there, half of that mound, don't forget, is my share." "Not yet," said the bug. "All these nuts have been stacked, but before we can share, they've got to be cracked." So he cracked all the nuts, then he said with a laugh, "A deal is a deal, and I'm giving you half. 1/2 of each nut, as you know, is the meat, and that is the half that I'm keeping to eat. But half of each nut, as you know very well, is the half of the nut that is known as the shell. The shells are for you," laughed the bug, and he rose, and he stuffed all the shucks up the elephant's nose. Now what would you do if he did that to you? With shucks up your nostrils, how dreadful you'd feel, but you couldn't complain, 'cause a deal is a deal. You'd have to act terribly nice and do right, so you'd say in a voice that was very polite, "Thanks, Mr. Kwuggerbug, thank you for these, but they tickle my nose, so look out, I shall sneeze." And you'd sneeze, and you'd sneeze, and you'd sniz, and you'd sniz, and blow all the shucks from your trunk with a whiz, just the way Horton did, 'cause they blew out of his. And they blasted that Kwuggerbug so far away that he sailed through the air for the whole month of May, and didn't come down till the 15th of June. All tattered and torn in the late afternoon, at a place that's so far now he never can go to his bezel nut tree where his bezel nuts grow. All right, and there's another in here. Let me see if this is the one that we want. Okay. How Officer Pat Saved the Whole Town. This, of course, is another from Dr. Seuss. The job of an officer of the police is watching for trouble and keeping the peace. He has to be sharp and he has to be smart and try to stop trouble before it can start. And that's why one morning, while out on his beat on the corner of Chestnut and Mulberry Street, he got sort of worried, did Officer Pat, when his very keen eyes spied a very small gnat going buzz around the head of old Thomas the cat. "Aha," murmured Pat, "I see trouble in that. If that gnat bites that cat, and he might very well, that cat will wake up and he'll let out a yell. That's only small trouble. I know it, but brother, one small bit of trouble will lead to another. The trouble with trouble is, trouble will spread. The yell of that cat will wake Tom, Tim, and Ted, those terrible triplets of Mrs. McGowan. Then they'll yowl a yowl that will wake this whole town." When trouble gets started, it always starts more. Those kids with their racket and ruckus and roar will frighten the birds, and the birds will come flapping down Mulberry Street with a yipping and yapping. Once trouble gets going, it spreads just like fire. Those birds will come screaming toward Mr. McGuire, the fish market man, and he'll get such a scare, he'll toss that big codfish up high in the air. That's the trouble with trouble. It grows and it grows. That fish in the air will land smack on the nose of that horse over there that belongs to Bill Hart. The horse will start kicking Hart's wagon apart, and pumpkins will bounce on the head of Jake Warner, who's fixing the hydrant down there on the corner. And once all those pumpkins start falling on Jake, he'll fall on his wrench and the hydrant will break. There's no stopping trouble once trouble gets going. When hydrants get broken, the water starts flowing. The water will gush right on Mrs. Manella. She'll think that it's raining and put up her umbrella. And that'll knock young Bobby Burke off his bike. He'll fall on the ladder of House Painter Mike. And House Painter Mike, when he tumbles, will spill a bucket of paint on the head of Don Dill. Oh, once it gets started, there's no stopping trouble. That splashing of paint will upset Mrs. Hubble. She'll drop all her dishes, they'll smash on the ground and startle her dog, and the poor frightened hound will jump in the horn of old horn tutor Fritz. And Fritz will fall backward and scare driver Schmitz on his dynamite truck, almost out of his wits. And that dynamite truck with its big load of blitz will race toward that tree, and oh boy, when it hits, the whole of this town will be blown to small bits. But lucky for us, down on Mulberry Street, good Officer Pat was awake on his beat. And quick, the brave officer swung his big bat on the troublesome head of that troublesome gnat and kept him from biting old Thomas the cat, and stopped all the trouble before it began. He saved the whole town. What a very smart man. Okay, I think that's all for today. If you are interested in reading any of these books, you can go down to your local library, and if you don't yet have a library card, they'll be happy to help you get one for yourself. And you should be able to check out any of these books, or just about any book that you can imagine with your new library card. So if you're interested, take care of that. And I am very thankful that you've joined us for Book Nook today, and I hope that you'll continue to watch, and also that you'll consider supporting Read Aloud by continuing to watch. And we were happy to come and read to you today. I appreciate you having me, and hope you have a good one.